What is up, guys? I'm Rick Kakis, and today, that's all my intro is, by the way, it's already over. I spent a ridiculous amount of Spoils of Conquest on Fatebringers again and again and again until I finally got the Destiny 1 Fatebringer God Roll. It has been a long 4 years since the end of Destiny 1 and the Age of Triumph where I got to use this thing last, and I've been looking forward to using this gun with this roll ever since the Vault of Glass was announced to be returning into Destiny 2 with the season of the Splicer. However, there's a very big question. Is this thing as good in Destiny 2 as it was in Destiny 1? And is the Destiny 1 roll still the roll you guys should be going for? Or is there actually some better options? Well, obviously, before we can answer that question, guys, there's this crazy thing that apparently a lot of people forget about. It's called new players and people who didn't play Destiny 1. And to them, me saying the Destiny 1 God Roll, I might as well just be talking gibberish. So let's head back to Destiny 1 and have a quick refresher course on what I'm talking about. So, the main thing you need to know is that there's a pretty big difference between Destiny 1 and Destiny 2 raid loot. In Destiny 2, there's random rolls, but in Destiny 1, it was actually static rolls on raid loot. So the Fatebringer God Roll wasn't so much a God Roll, it was the only roll you could get. And that roll consisted of, firstly, the Oracle Disruptor intrinsic perk. Unfortunately, you don't get intrinsic perks anymore in D2. That's actually located in the armor mods now. Then we've got the Firefly perk. So getting a kill will cause an enemy to explode and damage nearby enemies. That was recently re-added into Destiny 2. Then in the middle column here, we have explosive rounds, and we end things off with Outlaw, where getting a precision kill increases your reload speed. So, the way that the perks and the gun layouts work in Destiny 2, you can't get this exact roll. In fact, the Fatebringer doesn't even spawn with the Outlaw perk in Destiny 2. However, you can still get the combination, which is what I have, of explosive rounds and Firefly. And if you actually read Firefly, it does say that precision shots will not only cause enemies to explode, they increase reload as well. So it's kind of like a built-in Outlaw anyways. But here's the thing, the Fatebringer wasn't just good in Destiny 1, it absolutely dominated. Like, this was a huge part of the PvE meta after it was introduced in vanilla D1 all the way till when it was sunset with the Taken King. Yeah, that's right, Destiny 1 had sunsetting, people often forget because Taken King added so much content, but it did. Then it was reintroduced with Age of Triumph and got a second wind. So, can the Destiny 2 version hold a candle to this? Well, first things first, we gotta talk about explosive payload. This, as you saw in D1, used to just be a random middle tier perk. You could pick this over something that would influence the range and stability, over something like field prep, etc. But now it's an actual real main tier perk in Destiny 2. But in Destiny 2, quite frankly, explosive payload is one of the best, and you can make an argument for the best PvE perks for a hand cannon. It is so good, and I think, frankly, it is really underrated. So not only do you get the effect of the damage spreading to multiple enemies, so you kill one enemy and then the enemies nearby are wounded or they stagger, and that already is a pretty darn good effect. But mainly you're using it because it's a massive, unbelievable increase to your range. And it doesn't say that anywhere, like it will not increase your range stat, but what happens is that when you put on explosive payload, some of your damage is kind of taken away and then applied as explosive damage. And this explosive damage does not have any sort of damage fall off. So only, less than half of the damage that remains on the gun, the non-explosive damage, will actually have the proper damage fall off of a hand cannon. And the result is what you're seeing in the background gameplay. I can 2-tap these red bars from literally across the map. Whereas if I didn't have explosive rounds, it would be like a 5-shot kill. It would be doing absolutely no damage. But something else explosive payload does is provide a permanent damage increase in PvE. Seriously, if I go around with this normal Fatebringer with no explosive rounds, I hit 3,565 damage for a body, 5,347 damage for a headshot. If I switch to an explosive rounds one, then if you add up the explosive damage and the normal damage, I'm doing 4,099 damage for a body shot and 5,899 damage for a headshot. So that's 15% more damage for a body shot and 10% more damage for a headshot. So what explosive rounds does is also essentially make you walk around constantly with rampage times 1 all the time, a 10%-ish, sometimes 15 damage bonus compared to the base version of the gun. And that, just like the range benefit, is also really, really good. Okay, so explosive payload is cracked out of its mind in PvE, but what about Firefly? Again, it was just re-added this season, and firstly, being able to shoot one enemy and kill the 3 enemies around that one enemy is pretty darn sweet, and you're going to see that in the background gameplay. Not to mention, it's not just about the damage anymore. Because you can't get Outlaw, Firefly is going to function as your reload speed increasing perk, and that definitely does matter. Hand cannons have naturally very small magazine sizes, and you generally want either something to increase that substantially, like maybe overflow, or something to greatly speed up the reload when it comes to a PvE God Roll, and Firefly is going to function somewhat like that. However, because explosive payload is actually spawning in the first column, and usually it spawns in the second column actually, you have some other options in the Destiny 2 version that could potentially compete with Firefly. You have Frenzy, and that's going to provide a damage increase for simply being in a fight. And you also actually have the classic Kill Clip. So would explosive payload plus Kill Clip be better than explosive payload plus Firefly? Because do you necessarily need Firefly? Because although it's nice to watch enemies explode, we're really going to have a problem killing those enemies. Generally, you're just going to get multi-kills on red bars that you could frankly take out anyways. It does next to no damage against more powerful enemies, yellow bars, etc. But Kill Clip, especially when combined with something like explosive payload, is definitely going to matter. Kill a red bar and then do significantly more damage, 30% more damage, which stacks with the 15% explosive provides against whatever enemy you fight next. Not to mention, Frenzy can be active for like an entire encounter, providing another 15% damage bonus, and Frenzy increases your reload speed as well, remember. And there is some significant upsides to doing that over having Firefly. However, missing out on the reload speed increase does mean you're going to have to either use some hand cannon reloader mods that cost a fair amount of energy, or get a roll with appended or extended mag to increase the magazine a little bit and alleviate the need to reload all the time. Not to mention, because we have random rolls now, if you wanted a PvP specific roll, you may still want explosive payload. That thing's range increase is going to matter in the Crucible as well. Not to mention, it causes more flinch, and you can get some cheeky kills on enemies just like barely hiding around some cover. You can just shoot the ground and still actually damage them. But if you're going to combine something with that, it's probably going to be something like opening shot to improve the accuracy and range of the opening shot of an attack over something like Firefly. Firefly is really not going to be that necessary in a PvP environment. And so, is the D1 Fatebringer roll still the roll you're going for in Destiny 2? Well, I think you definitely won't be disappointed with it. It's a very fun roll, and it's a very effective roll. Like, this thing is cracked. However, I do think that you could make some arguments that Frenzy and Kill Clip could be just as cracked, if not maybe a little bit better when compared to Firefly. However, I do still think explosive payload is definitely what you're going for in that first slot, with the only thing coming even remotely close in PvE is rewind rounds, massively extending your magazine size. But again, I don't even think that is as good as explosive payload. But the good news of random rolls means that you guys can go out and get whatever roll works for you, and it's not necessarily the same from person to person to person. So while I still think the OG Fatebringer roll is good, I also think there's some great alternatives and potentially even some better options. But the good news at the end of the day is that the Fatebringer as a hand cannon itself is fantastic, and it is just as good as it was in Destiny 1. If you get a good roll with this thing, it absolutely dominates in PvE and frankly in PvP as well. And so guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickKakis. That's linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.